Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our Graduate Programs in the Sciences webinar. I'm Michaela Thompson. I'm the Graduate Enrollment Management Coordinator for the School of Graduate Studies at the University of Lethbridge. Some of you may have received some or several emails from me in the last little while. Joining me today is Dr. Nehal Thakor. Dr. Thakor sits on the program committees for both the MSc and PhD programs, and he's a faculty member in the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry at the University of Lethbridge. So he's just going to speak today about some of the exciting aspects about our MSc program, our PhD program, how to build a strong, successful application, and some important things to keep in mind as an applicant to either of those programs. Throughout the webinar, if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand and I will allow you to unmute yourself and ask your question out loud. Or you can put your question in the Q&A box at the bottom and I can read your question out loud for you. Please keep in mind that this webinar is being recorded. So if you do ask your question out loud, it will be part of the recording as well. So if you'd like that not to be the case, just put your question in the Q&A. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Thakor.
So I will share my screen first. Where would that be? Here. Can everybody see my screen? Michaela, can you please confirm if you can see my screen? Okay, very good. So good morning, everyone. Thank you, Michaela, for the introduction. And as Michaela mentioned, my name is Nehal Thakor, and I'm an associate professor in the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry. And I'm also a Campus Alberta Innovates Program Research Chair. So this is to just generate some enthusiasm. I can tell a little bit about my journey as a graduate student. How did I start, right? So I was a graduate student in the Sardar Patel University in Gujarat in India. Then I got an opportunity to work in Germany as a graduate student in a collaborative project. So once I finished my graduate studies, both half in India, half in Germany, I moved to Canada as a postdoctoral fellow, and then Ottawa Children's Hospital, and then Prince Edward Island, and then I joined this university as an assistant professor. I have developed my research program on two aspects. One is translational cancer biology. So what is the translational cancer biology is really mechanism and how mechanism can be implemented into tumor patients, right? And second research program that I have is in metabolic engineering of bacteria for environmental products such as biofuel and bioplastics. So yes, this is my research expertise, and I have worked in many different countries or many different parts of Canada too. So let's get going. So since you are here, maybe you are thinking about a graduate school. So even thinking about graduate school is important, right? And actually to decide to go to graduate program is a big decision. There is a reason why it is a big decision. So it is very different from the undergrad program. There will be independence. This is one of the most important factor in a graduate program. You will be independent. You will have your own research project. And you will have responsibility. At the same time, you will have freedom. So you can think, you can be creative, and then you can test your own ideas. But at the same time, you need to be responsible for what your ideas are and then how you are going to approach your ideas. There will be definitely independence doesn't come for free. As I mentioned, there will be responsibility and there may be psychological consequences, like you will have to think at your own. Until now, until you finish your undergrad, there were people around you who would always support you for even small thinking for even small thinking in science. But now you are having your own responsibility, your own research project, and then you need to be independent in thinking. So there may be some psychological consequences. So you need to be prepared for all those things. So one of the most important thing is your supervisor too. So you will have supervisor until you finish your undergrad. There was so many supervisors you worked with, instructors you may have worked with. But here for graduate studies, you will have supervisor. You will have a supervisor or a couple of supervisors depending on the type of project that you are taking on to. So and then I will speak more about supervisors in other slide, but I think these are the main things that you should think when you even starting to think about a graduate program. All right, so science graduate program in the Faculty of Arts and Science at the University of Lethbridge. So all science departments in the Faculty of Science have graduate programs, and those are MSc or PhD programs. Both include independent research, and they are research intensive, and at the end of the program you will have to write either MSc or PhD thesis. So it's really thinking, independent thinking, doing research, and then writing thesis, and actually then defending the thesis. Okay, in order to get a pass mark, you have to defend the thesis. Okay, so let's talk about MSc program a little bit, and here are the requirements for MSc program. So you need to have at least a good GPA, a bachelor's degree related within the field. If you are talking about, let's say, going into the biology research program or biochemistry research program, you should have related degree in your bachelor's. And the minimum GPA requirement for admission is 3.0 out of 4.0 in the last 20 courses that you have taken. So if you do not have that requirement fulfilled, so let's say if you have 2.75 GPA, you are not really eligible for a graduate program at the University of Lethbridge. So, and then there are other additional requirements, English language proficiency. So this is particularly important for international students, that you demonstrate that you are proficient in the first language here at the University of Lethbridge, which is English. And then there are multiple ways to demonstrate your English proficiency. You can take different exams listed here, paper-based TOEFL or internet-based TOEFL, IELTS, PTE, KL, and so on. And some of the requirements are listed here, that, for example, IELTS you cannot have less than total 6.5 band, or no individual band below 6.0, and so on. So I would emphasize on this, that you must meet this English proficiency requirement. This is very important. All right. So, but what if you do not have any of these tests taken, right? There is, and this is very, very important for international students again, that if you do not have either TOEFL, IELTS, or any other test that I have mentioned in the previous slide, you can be, when you apply, you can be offered conditional admission, given that you have all other requirements fulfilled, only English proficiency is not proven yet. In that case, you can be offered conditional admission. And what is the condition in that case is that you will have to go through one English for academic purpose program at the University of Lethbridge. And once you successfully complete that program at the University of Lethbridge, following semester you can start your graduate program at the university. And I will speak more about the funding later on in my presentation, but that funding will only start after you complete the English for academic purpose program at the University of Lethbridge. But if you have TOEFL done successfully, IELTS or any other test that I mentioned, then you don't need to worry about this. All right. So application deadlines, and these are very important deadlines that you should note. So October 1st is the forthcoming application deadline for graduate program at the University of Lethbridge. We have another application deadline which is on February 1st, and the last one is May 1st. So February 1st deadline is the deadline for you can choose to start from 2 different semesters. So for example, if you have applied for February for the February 1st application deadline, then you can choose to start your graduate program either on May 1st or on September 1st. So there are 2 ways you can start. But for October 1st deadline, you have to start your program on January 1st, and May 1st deadline, you will have to start your program on September 1st. So there are 2 different kinds of students that we have. For example, we have international students, as I mentioned, and foreign students. So for both students, the start date and the application deadlines are the same. We don't have separate deadlines for international students. But I want to emphasize on one point for international students is that for foreign applicants, there are some countries which take a long time for processing visas and so on. So then you need to plan ahead of the time for your application preparation. And then that has happened before for example, if you apply for February 1st deadline, and you think you will be able to start on May 1st, but it's possible that you may not be able to start on May 1st and you will end up starting on September 1st, depending on the country and then their visa processing time. Okay, when to apply? I would say start as early as you can, okay? There are a lot of things that you need to do before you can. And particularly, please note that incomplete applications are not considered and application fees are not refundable. So I think this would encourage you to start thinking early on how to apply and actually when to apply, okay? So many applicants apply prior to completing their BSc. This is a very interesting concept. So let's say, for example, if you are in the last year or last semester of your BSc program and you anticipate graduating before, let's say, January 1st or May 1st or September 1st, depending on the country, then you can apply ahead of the time. And if you are accepted in the program, then you can be granted conditional admission. And what is that condition for that is basically, you need to show evidence of your completion of your BSc before you start your graduate program. So that is a very interesting possibility here. So, okay, this is going to be a very important slide for anybody thinking about a graduate program. Finding a supervisor. Okay, if you do not find a supervisor, I would advise everybody who is even thinking to apply for graduate program, first find the supervisor, have a conversation with the supervisor, and then you can apply. So as I mentioned on my slide, get a supervisor before you apply. And you need to be in contact with you should be in contact with your supervisor and talk about the project, talk about a lot of things, all the questions that you have before you apply. But I have a general advice, and then I know most of you know about this, but the first email or meeting and the content of your email or conversation, it has to be professional tone, okay? So I can give you an example, and I have been at the university for 6 years now, and I have seen applications with, hey, Nehal, I'm not your buddy, okay? I'm a professor here. And I'm going to, if I accept you in my lab for a graduate program, then I'm going to be your supervisor. So their professors are not your buddy. Be professional. Ideally, you should say, dear doctor, the last name. This is the preferred for most professors. And then I give you another example. I get many applications such as dear sir / madam. That is, as soon as I read that address, I completely trash that email. The reason for that is it is very clear to me that the potential student did not do the homework. The potential student does not even know that I have a PhD, I am a professor, and I have a last name. Okay, everybody has last name, right? So please be very professional when you approach any professor at the university, anywhere, in fact, whether Lethbridge or anywhere in Canada or in the world. So be brief and to the point. Do your homework. Describe your mutual interest. Okay, how can you do that? There is a way to do that. If you are interested in any professor's lab, then you can go online and read about the professor's research. And if you are interested in a specific topic within that research program of the professor, you can talk about that interest. Hey, look, I'm interested in this biological aspect of cancer, in breast cancer, in glioblastoma, the type of cancer you are interested in, and then mutually come up with a project. So this is very important step, that you describe your mutual interest. You talk about your mutual interest. So describe your preparedness, and then how does it come? That you have read the papers of the professors, or you know about the research of that particular professor, and that is how you can be prepared. Specific question, request a meeting over Skype or talk further. Particularly, this is important for international students. So request a meeting, and then most professors, if they are interested to recruit graduate student and they want you in the lab, they would not deny request for a meeting. It can be either Skype, Zoom, whatever platform you can. And for local students, you can just ask for a one-on-one meeting. I mean, it's really complicated right now with the COVID-19 situation, but generally in normal circumstances, I would encourage students to come to my office and then talk about their interest, right? So materials, what you will need for your application or to send it to your supervisor is unofficial transcripts and your CV or resume, right? So this is very important that you tell them that what is your academic background. From transcript, the professor will know about your academic background, how well you did in your BSc. Not only that, if you have any other, let's say, leadership skill, you have done excellent research somewhere in another part of the world, or at the University of Lethbridge, then the CV will let us know if you have done some research or what is your research potential. All right. So this is the most important word in the entire presentation, and that is the fit. Okay. Why? This is incredibly important. Do you have academic fit for the particular lab that you are going to go in, or the supervisor's lab? What kind of research they are doing? Do you have academic background for that? Personal fit is a very important thing. You don't want to spend your very important 2 or 4 years of your life or 5 years of your life, depending on the time you take for PhD program, with the person you cannot talk to, right? So personal fit is very important. So how can you find out about personal fit? Is by mutual interview. You need to, sorry, be clear about your expectation and also philosophy for your, why you want to do science, right? Why you want to go to that specific lab, and what's your philosophy, how you will tackle scientific problems, right? Those things you need to be open about. At the same time, supervisors will tell you their expectation and what their philosophy is. You can also talk to current or past students from the University of Lethbridge, And if possible, you should also talk to the current or past students of the lab or the supervisor's lab where you want to apply for. This is very important. See, there are so many things that supervisor may not know. For example, the supervisor would not know how to find, possibly how to find a student resident. There, for those kind of things, you need to talk to the colleagues, either the current student or the past students of the University of Library, and they can guide you through those things. And then any other questions, you can talk to the current or past students. Very important. Be completely honest with them and yourself. When you talk to your supervisor, the current students or the past student, be honest about your expectation and why you want to do that. Be honest about with yourself too. You are going to Lethbridge not just for because Lethbridge is one of the nicest city in Southern Alberta. No, you are coming here for a reason, academic reason, scientific reason. You want to achieve something in science, right? And therefore you are coming to the Lethbridge. So be honest about your expectation when you talk to your supervisor. And funding. Talk to your supervisor about funding. What are the different funding mechanisms? How much, possibly all the supervisor may not be able to tell you the precise number that how much the funding you will get, but there is definitely several funding mechanisms that I will get to very soon. So talk to your supervisor about funding. So fill out the application, step number 2. So you can go to this website and fill out your online application. You will need, as I mentioned, unofficial transcript, contact information of 3 references, a CV, and a letter of intent. And then I will talk about all these things very briefly in upcoming slides. So, as I mentioned earlier in my presentation, you need minimum 3.0 out of 4.0 scale for your GPA to get admitted into MSc program, which is last 20 courses for MSc and master's degree, master's grade for PhD. So when you are applying for PhD program, the master's grades will be counted. Must have master's before you can join PhD directly here at the University of Lethbridge. Grades matter. Funding decisions are partially based on GPA threshold. If you do not meet GPA threshold, then likely you may not get enough funding at all. And we will talk about that funding. So GPA does matter. 3 references. These are very important letters that you will need to get. So at least 2 must be from the professors, instructors that hold tenure track positions at the university for MSc. For PhD, all must be academic and must have conducted research with, so you must have conducted research with one of them. And then that is what is the requirement for PhD program. So someone who knows you well and will write a glowing detailed letter about your relevant past, performance, and potential would be an ideal person to write you a letter of reference. Help them help you. So you can provide them as much as detail you can provide to them. Possibly you can send them your CV and also transcript to remind them that you have done excellent in your academics as well as research. Tell them about your goals, motivation, skills, and your experience, and they will be able to write a good letter for you. CV is a very important part of your application. You should include academic background, work experience, research experience, award, scholarships, volunteer work, publication, presentation. If you have any poster presentation from your previous research, all these information should be included in the CV. And there is a reason why I'm telling you this is, for example, if someone has completely identical GPA, but one person has more research experience and then research productivity, then the program committees do look into your assets. These are all I would call assets. So GPA is the bare minimum requirement to enter the graduate program, but these things will help you winning some funding. Demonstrated research success is very important and that can help you winning some funding, as I just mentioned. Well formatted, and it should be error free. So people don't want to read a CV with full of typos. So make sure that you make your CV or any thing, including letter of intent, typo free. So what is letter of intent? Why do you want to be in this program? So that is the foremost question that you are answering in your letter of intent. How does it, by joining the University of the Lethbridge graduate program, how does it meet your goals, career goals or scientific goals? Why are you well suited for the position or suited for the particular lab or the research program? What do you want to achieve in your career or in science? Any groundwork with the supervisor. You can also mention about the discussions about your project that you did with the potential supervisor. Keep in mind, this is a writing sample. Write beautifully. Avoid cliches like, ever since I was a child, I dreamed of becoming a scientist. This is a typical example of students writing letter of intent. I mean, this is, yeah, many people wanted to be scientists, right? And then they want to be scientists. Nothing bad for that. But you know what? I think if you answer all these questions that I have mentioned in the first bullet point, then you should be fine. You don't need to decorate your letter of intent like this, right? But make sure that this is your writing sample. Your writing can be evaluated from the letter of intent. So you should write beautifully. Submit the application, right? Once you are done with your application, submit it. But check to see if everyone has their parts complete. For example, send reminders to your references if they have not submitted your reference, right? So official transcripts and proof of degree should be there. Once complete, it goes to the department for evaluation. So here I can tell you a little bit about the process. So as soon as you apply to the program, either MSc or PhD, that will come to the particular department. For example, if you are applying to come to my lab, then my department will evaluate your application before it goes to the MSc program committee. Or if you are applying for PhD program committee, before it goes to PhD program committee. So the program, before any application goes to program committee, department committee will evaluate your application. So there are two-tier evaluation. So what you do once you get accepted, you will receive an offer letter from the STS. Then you must register for each semester, including the summer one. So there are 3 semesters, spring, fall, and summer. You must register for each 3 semesters. Then degree requirements. So what do you do with once you are enrolled in the program? So courses, MSc students must undergo 2 courses up to 6. Between 2 and 6, you have to take 2, from minimum 2, maximum 6 courses. For PhD students, minimum 0, maximum 6 are required. Thesis proposal, both MSc and PhD program requires you to write thesis proposal. Full-time students write thesis proposal at the end of 2nd term, and part-time students write their proposal at the end of the 4th term. Then you will also write thesis at the end, and the time limit is 24 months for MSc and 48 months for the part-time, and you must apply for the program extension if you go above the prescribed time duration. For MSc, there is a cooperative education and other details, right? For co-op program for MSc, and this is not for PhD students. So 8 months of co-op for co-op designation, working with outside employer, and if interested, talk to your co-op office or your supervisor as soon as possible if you want to enroll in the co-op program. And please note that again, this is not for PhD program. So there are other professional development programs at the University of Lethbridge. And one example is Thrive program. So this is optional professional development program which provides different workshop, which is free and mostly on campus. So you can develop skills in these professional development programs. For the PhD program, this proposal is due within 1 year of the registration program. There is comprehensive examination due within first 2 years of the program. This is one of the very important examination before you actually can defend your PhD thesis in 4 years. So then you write the thesis, and residency period is 24 months minimum, maximum 48 months for the full-time registration. This is at the University of Lethbridge. And I think I would end my presentation by thanking two of my colleagues, Craig Coburn and David Bloch. Both are professors at the University of Lethbridge, who actually helped creating this presentation. And thank you all. And I think I am happy to take any questions.